In today's tutorial, I will show you how to animate individual 3D text in After Effects. Let's begin. I already have my scene ready with my text layers and lights on the timeline. To animate each individual text in 3D, I will need to convert my text into shapes. So I'll right mouse click on my text layer and navigate to Create, and then select Create Shapes from Text. Our text layer will be hidden and a new shape layer will appear. In the content section of our new shape layer, we can see all the letters that have been converted into shapes. To animate each individual text, we need to separate these characters into their own layers. I'll duplicate this layer to match the number of letters, creating a total of 5 shape layers. Then I'll rename each layer to correspond to the letter I want it to represent. For example, for this layer, I want it to be the letter T, so I'll delete the other letters that I don't need for this layer. And I'll do the same for the rest of the text. I'll fast forward this step. Perfect. Now that we have our shape text layers ready, I will convert them into 3D layers. I'll now make sure to have my renderer set to Cinema 4D and not the classic 3D renderer. If you don't, make sure to select the Cinema 4D renderer. While still having your shapes layer selected, go ahead and click on the arrow to open its menu. Head over to the Geometry Options menu, and where it says Extrusion Depth, change the value to whatever you like. I'll set mine to 200. You can immediately see how our 3D text looks. I'll go ahead and create a camera. Head to the Layer menu, then select New, and then Camera. I'll leave the settings and the name of Camera 1 as is, and select OK. And I'll make sure I am using my newly created camera by ensuring it says Active Camera, Camera 1. OK, I will now change the camera view to 2 camera views. I'll focus on the left side window, which is displaying the top view. I'll select all my shape layers and add a position keyframe here. Pressing the letter P on my keyboard will display my position attributes, and I'll add a keyframe to all of my shape layers. I'll scroll to the beginning of my timeline. What I want is for the text to come in from the back of the camera and into the center of my scene. So I will select the blue arrow representing the Z-axis and drag the selected shape layers towards the back of the camera. I'll zoom out a bit to have a broader view and move the text around so that it passes by the camera and not through it. This is looking good. But the issue now is the light. My light only illuminates when it reaches this area. It seems I will also need to animate my spotlight to follow the movement of my 3D text. I'll go ahead and select my spotlight. Pressing the letter P on my keyboard, I'll add a keyframe to the position. I'll scroll to the beginning of my timeline and drag my spotlight to be in front of my 3D text. Now that I see it more clearly, I notice that the text is still passing through the camera. I'll select all of my text shape layers and drag the text a bit further back. Okay, this is good enough. I'll change my view to 4 views to get a better look. I'll change one of these windows to a front view. And I'll use my active camera view as a guide. I'll adjust the text up or down to ensure it doesn't appear to pass through the camera. This is what I want. I'll delete the first position keyframes I originally created and replace them with these new ones. I'll drag these keyframes to the beginning and push them back further. Now I'll return to my 2 views and preview my scene. This looks good. I'll move the light a bit further back as well. Okay, this is looking good. I'll return to one view. Okay, but what if I want to have the text animate in at different times? Well, that won't be a problem since that's the reason we separated the text to begin with. First, I like to increase the thickness of my text. I'll select all of my shape layers and head over to the Geometry Options menu. Then, I'll increase the extrusion depth to 500. This is good. However, now I can see my text through the camera. Let me fix that. I'll head back to my 2 views and move the text back some more. The same I'll do for my spotlight. Now I want to add a keyframe to the thickness of my text. So I'll add a keyframe to my extrusion depth settings and press the letter U twice on my keyboard to focus on the keyframes. I'll move to the end of my timeline and change the extrusion depth value to 10. On second thought, I'll change it to 50. Okay, this looks good. I wanted the text to come in with a strong thickness, but as it settles to the center, it reduces. This looks good. I'll return to one view. Alright, it's time now to offset the animation for my text. You can either move the layers or adjust the keyframes. Personally, I prefer to move the keyframes instead of the entire layer, but everyone has their own preference. I'll select all of my keyframes except for the first text shape layers and move them 3 frames forward. Perfect. I'll do the same for the remaining 3 shape layers. When I preview the animation, we can now see the text coming in at different times. I like it. However, I noticed that the light is not evenly lit throughout the animation. I'll have to adjust the spotlight a bit. Heading back to the 2 views and to the beginning of my timeline, I'll move around my spotlight. I'll also drag my ending keyframe further out. Now, when I scroll through my timeline, the spotlight should cover all of the text. Well, it doesn't. Because I offset the text, the light for some reason is not evenly spread. To fix that, I'll head over to my spotlight layer and go into the light options and increase the radius to a higher value until it covers all of our text. Okay, this looks good. Oh wait, there's a problem here with the letter T. I'll come back to that shortly. But right now, since the light here looks good, I will add a keyframe here so that it stops its movement. Drag the point of interest keyframe here so it can be in sync. And I'll delete the last frame. Okay, now focusing back on the letter T lighting issue, I'll return to the Spotlight light option settings and increase the radius a bit more. This looks good. I'll hide the Spotlight menu and press twice on the letter U to only view our keyframes. Now, when I preview the animation, all the text is lit properly. You don't have to follow what I do from here on. I now want to fix the animation a bit more. I want the transition to feel smoother. So I'll select all of the end keyframes. Right-click over one of the keyframes and head to the keyframe assistant. Then I'll select Easy Ease In to tighten up the animation a bit. I'll hit the spacebar to preview the animation. It's looking good, but I want the ease in to be stronger. I'll make sure all of my end keyframes are selected, and I'll select the graph editor icon. Here I will drag this anchor point all the way in. Alright, I'll return to my timeline and preview it. I like this. I'll move the keyframes a bit farther and import an effect I had done earlier. I'll head to the project window, do right mouse click, and select Import, then File. I'll import my graphic video, drag it to the bottom of my layer, and change the mode to Screen. Now I'll preview it one last time. Alright, there you have it. You now know how to animate individual 3D text in After Effects. You can use this technique to create many animation variations. If you'd like to download this project file, head over to the tutoolsdigital.com website where you can download this and many other project files. If you found this video useful, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Till the next one.